Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Well, the holidays are officially upon us, so today I've got all kinds of things I want to do. I am going to make holiday decorations using natural material from my garden. So come along with me because I'm going to make a wreath, a holiday swag, a table centerpiece, and maybe even a bonus project. To make a wreath, you need a few basic supplies, and you can easily find them at a craft store. And they tend to be pretty inexpensive too, which is nice. The most important thing you're going to need to start with is some type of a wreath form. And my favorite is grapevine wreaths. They're very inexpensive, maybe like about $4 for this one. I bought it probably about 12 years ago, and I have used it every single year. At the end of the season, I just pull out the old materials and it's ready for the next year. This is a great thing to start out with because what you can do is push your materials into the nooks and crannies of this wreath, which makes it much simpler and much quicker to put together. Another type of a wreath form is this wire form. It's also inexpensive, and the way it works is you get your materials together and you make little bundles of the materials. You wire them together and then you wire the bundles onto this form going around in a circle. Unfortunately, it's quite labor intensive, and so if I had to choose between these two, it would definitely be the grapevine wreath, but whatever you want to work with is fine. I should also mention that you can make your own wreath form. If you have some type of a pliable vine or branches or something like your very own grapevines, you can just put them all together and have your own form. So that would save you some money right there. There are also heavy-duty, dense foam wreath forms, and they are very inexpensive. But the thing I worry about is that with the diameter of the branches you're going to be pushing into it as you make your wreath, I worry it's going to break apart, or maybe it would only last one season. So again, if I had to choose, I definitely would go with the grapevine wreath. Another thing you're going to want is some florist wire, and they come on little paddles like this. It's really quite a fine gauge. I like the green because it blends in with the materials, and this is what you would use to wire things onto this wreath. There is a minimal amount of wiring you might need to do. You might also use it for making your bow. Because some of the materials I'm going to be working with are a little prickly, I have a pair of gloves at the ready. I also have a pair of pruners so I can make adjustments to the sizes of the materials. And then you're going to want some type of a decorative ribbon if you want to make a bow. And you can tell by my attire, this is going to be the year of the buffalo check or buffalo plaid, depending upon what you like to call it. I just think this is so charming, and I thought it'd be fun to have a little continuity between the things I make today if I use this for a bow. So that's everything that you need to get started. In addition to the basic supplies, you're going to want to wander around your garden and see what might be interesting for making your holiday projects. And one thing I wanted to point out is that if you don't have any evergreens, but you really want to add them to your wreath or anything else that you're making, go to a Christmas tree lot because the employees there usually have had to trim some trees for a customer's needs, and they'll just give you the leftover branches. Or you might talk to a neighbor and say, gosh, I'm going to make this wreath and I'm in need of a little bit of evergreens. Would you mind if I did just a little careful pruning off your tree so I can have some materials? Or better still, invite them to make wreaths with you. So it's a great way to get together with your neighbors and to have a lot of fun. This is the back of the wreath, and the first thing I like to do is make a little wire loop because we have a nail near the front door that the wreath is going to hang on. But it's also nice while you're making your wreath to know where the top of the wreath is at all times because it could have a bearing on where you place things. And so I take a ribbon and temporarily tie it to the loop so I always know where the top is. Okay, this is my wreath so far, and it looks a little wild and woolly, I know, but what I'm going to do is make the bow next, and then I can use my pruners to prune out anything that's a little bit unruly. And I'll also be able to see if I've got any bare spots. If I also need to, I can wire down some of it too, just to kind of rein in some of the wild ones. Now that I've hung my wreath, I can see there's a couple areas where I need to add a little more fluff to, but overall I'm happy with the simple design of it, and I love that buffalo check bow. Making a swag is so simple, you'll wonder why you've never made one before. I'm going to make one for our gate. You could certainly hang it indoors or outdoors on a door or something, but they just look really cool. Okay, how simple was that? And you know, you can be as elaborate or simple as you want. You can just use what you have on hand and whatever strikes your fancy. It is so simple to do this. This is going to look great on our gate. How's that look? Got quite the wind coming out of the north. The next project I'm going to make is a table centerpiece, and I have kind of a cool story to tell you. So last December I was in this variety store, and they sell a lot of pre-made holiday decorations. And so I'm ready to walk out the door, and this employee says, "Hey, would you like to have a holiday centerpiece for free?" And I said, "For free?" Well, I think what was happening is some of the greens were getting a little bit peaked looking, but still actually very nice. And so I said, well, sure. So we enjoyed it through the holidays, and what I did is I pulled away the greens and hung onto the container and figured I can make something this year. So let's make a holiday centerpiece. This is the container that centerpiece came in, and it is sitting in a watertight container, which is important. I'll explain that in a moment. And then what this material is it's called Florist Oasis, and it's a very porous sort of foam-like material that really soaks up the water. And so what you need to do is to pre-soak these so they absorb as much water as possible. And this is what your greenery is going to go into. It's important to use Oasis because you want your greenery to stay looking nice. It's also tied down to this container, which is probably a good idea in case it gets top heavy. And then here are 2 candle holders that were all part of what they gave me for free. So we're going to start with this. The greenery that I'm going to use for this centerpiece is a bird nest spruce because it's a little finer needled. and a little more petite, which I think would look better. I think if I use something larger, it's going to look out of proportion. And what I'm doing for each one at the base is I'm stripping off the lowest couple branches and the needles, and then that way I have something to poke into this oasis. And I'm just going to work my way around it, poking them in, and essentially winging it, to be honest, because you just have to see how it's looking and experiment a little. Okay, here's how it's coming along. What I did is I got all of those bird nest spruce branches tucked in all the way around so that you couldn't see the oasis. And then I added in a few branches of a fir just to have a little bit of a different texture of needles. And then I cut some sprigs of rhododendrons, which are evergreen so they don't drop their leaves, and I'm just adding them into the top, also to hide the last of the oasis. And I love having something different in here, a different leaf shape. And rhododendrons look so pretty. And this is another good reason why you want to have a nice moist oasis. And then of course I put the candles into the little candle holders. And even though I don't like using fake stuff, I don't have any berries in my garden that are firm and tight and aren't going to fall off of their branches. And so I did buy some little red berries from a craft store, and I was thinking I could just poke a few of them in just for some little accents of color. I'm not going to go crazy about it, but I am going to poke them in here and there, and I think it'll just add some nice color. Okay, here is the holiday centerpiece, all finished. And I wanted to clarify that you can find the oasis and also the little candle holders at craft stores. They're not expensive. Or you can go into different thrift shops and look for them too, and they'll be really inexpensive. Let's get to that bonus project. For my final project, I really wanted to put some kind of a decorative container on our front porch. This is a ribbed barrel planter from Gardener's Supply. I got it last year and I absolutely love it. It just looks so cool. So what I'm going to do is to put all kinds of different branches and things in here, dress it up a little, and it's going to look awesome. You'll also notice I have it on a wagon because, first of all, our front porch is in the shade and very cold today. But the other thing is I wanted to make it so I could transport it easily there once I'm finished. Well, that's a wrap. I hope this video gave you some ideas and also the courage to go out into your garden, look for some interesting natural materials, and brighten up your house for the holidays. I'll see you next time.